Okay, welcome everybody to the Z class. Yes, sir. Z, the ins and outs. Okay, so one thing that I wanted to point out is that Z was very strong, within the first couple days, then like the first week of the meta, because that's just kind of how it works. He wasn't figured out to be as strong, and then people kind of found like an easy way to play around him, and so he was perceived as like one of the best carries in the meta, but currently he's definitely gone down a bit because the meta has shifted again. But either way, there's definitely still value in learning how to play around Zed. As you can see this graph, this is real and true. These numbers are exact real numbers. Okay, yeah. So why is Zed on the decline? It's because people have been figuring out how to play around Viego, and Viego's really strong. Just at I mean, I think he's just strong in general. Like he's just might be slightly better than Viego. So he also I think has like a lot higher cap on like level 8. And then Jax is also extremely powerful, and Jax I think is definitely one of the units that can counter Zed. If you don't have an Edge of Night on Zed, then and the Zed gets on Jax, then you know the Jax kills a unit and then kills the Zed, and then your entire team kind of falls apart. So yeah, so if Zed's on the decline, then what's the point of learning Zed? Well, the meta is still extremely early on. I mean, it hasn't even been 2 weeks, I don't think. And just learning comps is extremely valuable. If you want to climb, a lot of people generally climb towards like the middle or end of a set, and it makes it a lot easier to climb when you have just so much knowledge around the set. If you've played since day one all the way until the end, then hopefully you've accumulated enough knowledge that no matter what the meta looks like, you kind of have a line that you're comfortable playing all the way until the end. So it's definitely still beneficial to play uh, comps that you don't think are strong right now if they have potential to be strong in the future. And then just because Zed is on the decline does not mean he's still strong. Of course, you can still top 4 with him from the right spot. And then, yeah, the beach patch is coming soon, and there's a chance that in that patch he's going to be strong. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, something that helps me for sure learn the ins and outs of comps, is determining what packages you can put into a comp. So packages meaning like 3 or 4 units or even like 2 units that are really strong together, and then you kind of put those packages together to formulate a comp. A good example for a package might be if you played in set 7 Ornn and Kiana and Talon. Ornn and Kiana and Talon gave you the Tempest trait and the Assassin trait, and those were just like really solid units to put in your comp. And so we're gonna try and use packages like that to kind of figure out comps for this set. So as you can see, I have like some of the packages here, and we're gonna go through those. So the first package that I want to talk about is the Hackster slash Prankster package, and this is what I'm calling the Core 4, because I think that if you're playing around Zed, you should have these 4 units in your comp: Zed, LeBlanc, Zoe, Echo. If you don't have those 4 units in your comp, there's like a really weird situation that has to be happening if you don't want like these 4 units in your comp. You definitely need the hackers to empower Zed to give him the Omnivamp so that you can, commit like 3 items on him that don't include healing, so then he gets the healing and then he gets all of the damage. And then Echo is just a really strong unit, and Prankster is really strong. And then Jinx can be really strong. 3 Prankster is definitely not fake. Three Prankster is probably like one of the strongest traits in the game right now. And I would I would say Jinx, you you definitely want to play around, and you definitely want to put Jinx in your comp, but sometimes if you don't have enough units, like if you're running the core 4 and then you have another package that is involves 4 units, then maybe you like can't fit Jinx into that comp. Okay, so now this is like a frontline package, and I'm also, yeah, going to talk about MECH. So the mech package involves 3 to 4 units. You're either running just the 3 mechs or you're running the 3 mechs plus a bruiser because you can get the bruiser through jacks. And so yeah, basically you're just sacking set. I'm pretty sure most people have figured out this interaction so far. And then if you need even more frontline than what the set is already giving you, then you just include either Sejuani or Vi, where you can pair them with like Laser Core or Aegis depending on what your other units are. And then something to note about the mech frontline is that it's good with Fiddlesticks because the mech frontline struggles with not having any CC. Set is like a really premier tank, but there's no CC among that. And then Fiddlesticks gives CC, and then it's also good with mech because the 2 units that die automatically gives the Fiddlesticks 80 AP because he gets 20 or he gets 40 AP for every unit that dies. Okay, so the next package that I want to bring up, these are 2 separate packages. They're just in the same slide. So we have the Star Guardian package and then we have the Anima Squad package. So if you have items that are like AP, but it doesn't make sense to play them on Zoe, Zoe definitely benefits the most from items like Blue Buff and Morello, but units that aren't as good with Blue Buff and Morello are units like Talia and Misfortune. And Talia and Misfortune definitely benefit more from Shojin or just like pure damage items. Something to note is that the Star Guardian package that includes Echo, Echo is already part of the core 4, so you can consider this package just like a 2-unit package. So that means you have 6 units, and then you can include 2 other units out of like anything. It can just be whatever. Normally you're lacking frontline, so it could just be 2 bruisers. It could be Prankster plus a threat. It could be, anything like that, or it could just be like a second Echo even. So yeah, so leftover AP items go on Talia or MF. I have these packages on the same page because they are very similar. Talia and MF definitely carry similar items. And then something that makes these packages really strong paired with Zed is that Nyla gives Zed Duelist and Talia gives Spellslinger because you have LeBlanc on your board. And then with the Anima Squad package, Riven often gives your Sejuani Bruiser. And then you can't play this package if you have the mech frontline package because that would be 4 plus 3 plus 3. So that's too many units. But if you just don't play Wukong and don't play Jax, the triple mech package, and you just choose to play like Set and Sejuani, then often your Riven is giving both Defender and Brawler. The Star Guardian package you can basically play whenever, and it's really easy to flex into this package, so I would definitely consider playing that one more often. It also pairs really well with Zed because Talia has backline access, so Zed can weaken them, or Talia can weaken them, and then the other one can take them out. MF is definitely more so has to get through the front line first. And then another thing is that the Anima Squad package becomes a lot stronger when you have Anima like starter. So if you've been stacking since the beginning of the game to give all your Anima units more HP, then it helps out. It can give you, basically if you have like Anima Squad since 2-1 or like stage 2 or something, and then you get Zed items and you get MF items, then you could consider playing this package instead of the Talia package because there's more benefit because your MF probably is getting anywhere from like 100 to like 300 more HP because of the stacking. Okay, so some other packages that don't really have names but can be considered is threats are actually pretty good at doing their job. They're all sort of tailored to fit into your comp to give you something that you need. And sometimes just having like a 2-star Rammus or like a 2-star Asol just like slotted on your board is like the best thing for your board at the moment. Or if that's just like what you hit, then normally it's never like a bad option to just throw them in your comp. This Ox Force package is definitely, you have to have the emblem, but Zed is extremely powerful with the Ox Force package because Ox Force acts like an Edge of Night in combination while with giving him attack speed, and both of those things are extremely powerful with Zed. So, yeah, the Ox Force emblem, or Zed, is probably one of the best Ox Force emblem holders out there. And you don't necessarily have to play around Zed, but with the Ox Force emblem. But if you have 80 items and you have a 2-star Zed and you have Ox Force, then yeah, this can be really strong to play. Okay, and then here's like the last two packages I'm going to talk about, but I would consider these like among the worst packages, but I wanted to bring them up because they are both Zed's traits. So Laser Core is not core. You do not need Laser Core to play Zed. There are some situations where if you have like an upgraded Yasuo or you hit like an early Mordekaiser, then it makes sense to play maybe or to fit in Laser Core over something else, but don't get baited into thinking that you need to have Laser Core if you're trying to carry Zed. It's normally not the best at the time. And then Zed definitely scales extremely well with attack speed, but the duelist units are extremely squishy and normally do not provide enough support to carry Zed. And I would only consider playing around duelists if that's kind of what you're playing in the mid game. If you have upgraded duelists all throughout and then your natural is Zed, then you can consider playing Zed. But I think ultimately you want to pivot your board off of duelists unless you have something like multiple duelist spats or something like that, where it makes sense to play vertical duelists. Okay, so I talked about some cores, so let's try and like fit these together to figure out what like a comp might look like. So here you can see this is the core 4, which I would expect to be on every single one of the boards in combination with the Star Guardian package, and then we just threw in some bruisers. So as you can see, the traits work out really well. Again, yeah, you have Nyla giving Zed Duelist, and then Talia gets Spellslinger from LeBlanc. And then when you have the bruisers in, Vi gives Echo Aegis, you have 2 Prankster, you have 3 Hacker. Yeah, this is definitely what one of your comps might look like if you combine some of the cores. Yeah, something to note, but I'm going to talk about this later, but you can see I kind of have just like a rough positioning of what you might look like. You often want Zoe on the same side as Zed, and then you often want Talia on the opposite side of Zed, because Zoe likes targeting like the closest unit that she can apply a bubble to that doesn't already have one. So if she's bubbled the front line and the next closest unit is like a unit in the back line on her side, then she's going to throw a bubble on them. So Zed is going to help finish them off, or Zoe is going to help finish them off, and then Talia normally launches her line across the board. Talia's targeting is a little weird, but most of the time it's just straight line across, and so you want Talia opposite side of Zed so that they can take down units together. So here is like another core. Here we have the core 4 with the mech, and then we have just an extra unit because we have 4 plus 3 plus extra unit on level 8, and so I just threw in Jinx. This could be Jinx, this could be any 2-star threat, this could be, like a 2-star Sejuani, anything like that. But the previous board and this board are ones that I wanted to go over to show you how to combine some of these cores, but then at the same time I believe the previous board and this board to be among the strongest of the cores. Something that often happens this set is that you kind of run out of item slots. You're making items to kind of get you through the game, and then you realize, oh wait, I have nothing else to make items, or I have no other options, and I don't have like enough items for my carries or my frontline or support or whatnot. And so you have to be kind of frugal with how you make items this set, considering there's no treasure dragon and all that. And this item combination is probably like the most value you can get out of all of your items. 3 items Zed, 2 items Set, 2 items Zoe. Everything works extremely well together. You have the Set often, tanking so that the aggro doesn't get switched off onto the Zed. And then you have the Zoe applying the anti-heal, just spreading it throughout the board. And then another thing to note is that if you get hero augments, a lot of the hero augments from units on this board are often very powerful. Zoe, Zed, Echo, Set, Jinx, every single one of their hero augments, even like Jax or Wukong's Energize, can be really good. Yeah, so basically this is what one of your boards might look like when you combine some units. And I wouldn't be fooled with like these traits. You know, it doesn't look very exciting when you look at this, but 3 Hacker and 3 Prankster are probably like among the strongest traits in the game right now. So yeah, you don't need like a full trait web like the last build. Okay, so now that we talked about how to play around cores of Zed, I'm going to get into itemization. So basically, what you need to understand from this is that you want one of these items on the left, and then you want to combine them with 2 of the items on the right. So Zed uses lots of items, and it often does not matter, or it often you can't get BIS or like perfect items every game, but since Zed uses lots of items extremely well, most of the time you just need to not get baited by trying to have like perfect items, and you just need to slam one of these. And then something to note is that I have these items on the top right kind of on their own, because these are items that you can still utilize on Zed, but I believe them to be not as optimal as these other ones. Trap Claw or Guard Breaker is situational, i.e. I'll talk about later. And then Hand of Justice, you normally have 3 Hacker in, so or you're missing out on value from slamming like another damage item, because often another damage item is giving you more healing anyways. So Hand of Justice is not that valuable, despite it being the item that you get dropped with Hacker Crown. And then some good item combos. So Edge of Night plus Deathblade plus Runeans, all 3 of these items give you 80%. So Edge of Night has a sword component, and then Deathblade gives you increased AD%, and then Runeans gives you a 20% AD bonus that's just like attached to the item. So that trio works extremely well together, because your AD is starting to like add up to like a really high number, and then the Runeans is utilizing that really high number extremely well. And then another good combo is QSS, Ginsu, Last Whisper. The QSS gives you base attack speed, the Last Whisper and the Ginsu are both bow components that give you attack speed, and then the Ginsu is stacking attack speed. So you start off with already a lot of attack speed to get the Ginsu ramping up quicker, and then the QSS component is built with Glove, and Last Whisper component is built with Crit, and then Last Whisper also gives you more Crit. So Glove items or Crit items and attack speed they're all like working extremely well together to give you like a really strong combination. And my favorite is this one here, QSS Ginsu Last Whisper. I had that on some of the like comps in previous slides, but there's like I said, there's still like a lot of combinations that are really good. So that was like itemization tech. Now I'm going to talk about like positioning tech and then some other stuff. So like I talked about some of this stuff earlier, but you do want Prankster same side as Zed. So if you have 3 Prankster and then there's a unit in the back line that is attacking the Prankster, and then they end up killing the dummy, then they get stunned, and then Zed has free reign to just kind of kill them, especially if they're CC'd, because then if they depend on healing from their ability or something like that, then they're just not going to get any of that. Same side Zoe, I already talked about that. And then same side MF. This one isn't as important, but since Talia is opposite side, sometimes MF, her range, she shoots like a frontline unit, or she targets a frontline unit, and then her bullets kind of on the outer edge get into the back line. And so you want MF to be same side as Zed, so that hopefully those units or those bullets kind of also hit the same unit that Zed is targeting. And then so Edge of Night again sheds negative effects. A lot of people still don't know this. And Zed is a hacker, so hackers have a lot of built-in healing, and if you're going up against someone, or if you're trying to build items for Zed and you're trying to figure out what to build, and you see that someone has a unit that applies Morello very effectively, or like let's say someone's playing vertical threats and you know they're going to be playing ASOL for like the whole game, then Edge of Night is a very good consideration in situations like that, because then it allows him to get rid of that anti-heal, and then it's going to be a lot easier for him to heal up if he's omni-vamping 40% with 3 hacker opposed from 20% from the like half effect. Or actually, I don't know if it does half. I think it might be like 33 or something. But yeah, either way, it's still extremely beneficial to cleanse that anti-heal. And then so some other miscellaneous techs is that if you have loaded dice and you want to go for Z3, dice is Gangplank because there's no 4-cost supers and there's no other 4-cost duelists. So if you're level 8, you have a GP, you dice the GP, I believe you have like guaranteed 2 or 3, in between 2 and 3 approximate units in that shop should be Zed. And then if you have 4 hacker, whether through like an augment, or I guess like it would have to be through an augment or through a tome, 4 hacker is probably the most broken trait in the game right now. It gives a unit 70% omnivamp, which is twice as good as CB3 from last set, which they had nerfed. So CB1 I'm pretty sure gives 10, CB2 gives 15, and then CB3 gives like 25, or it's like 10, 20, 30, something around there. But either way, 4 hacker is like twice as good as a prismatic, or even more. And you're giving it to all of your units that are dealing damage, so it essentially is just like giving CB, because most of your units that you're carrying are the only ones benefiting from CB anyways. Hacker Leona is probably the best one. She does true damage, so if she's taking damage and she's hitting a unit, she's healing for 70% of that damage. She most of the time is healing to full, especially if you're hitting units with like really high health pools. Nunu is just really strong with healing to make sure that he can continue scaling to get to like the massive balls, and then if he can end up being like around towards the end of a fight with hacker, then there's probably like no chance killing him because he's just doing so much damage at that point. And then if you're including an MF or Talia package, then putting the hacker emblem on them is extremely powerful, especially since you often won't have 3 items on that unit anyways, especially if you have 3 items on Zed. So hacker MF, hacker Talia, and then hacker set can be really strong if you're running more of like a hybrid tank / carry set. If you have like Titans plus like I don't know, it's most of the time it's just like Titans plus tank item plus hacker. Or if you have like Titans, maybe just like throw like a random IE on him or something, give him hacker and try and make him a carry. So this last thing that I'm going to talk about is how to influence the hero augments. If you're in a game where there was not a hero augment on 2-1, and there was not a hero augment on 3-2, then there is a very good chance that you're going to get a hero augment on 4-1. And so if you're playing around Zed in this situation, you want to make sure that you have the hacker and duelist trait active so that you have a really high chance of getting the Zed hero augment. If you have both of those in and you have your reroll left over, there's probably like, it's probably like impossible to not get Zed unless you have like a bunch of other traits active that can give you other units. Let's say you have hacker, duelist, and prankster because you have like Echo and Zoe. Then there's a good chance that you're going to get Echo, Zed, and then probably just Belveth or Asol. Yeah, and then both of Echo's hero augments are very strong, and then if you're playing around Zed, then you are definitely okay with having Zed hero augment. So yeah, make sure to have those traits active on 4-1 because that is what it checks for how your hero augment is. There's no replacing units. So if you take out units and put other units in reroll, that does not work. It always registers your traits from your previous board, and then it does not register the traits that you have on your board that are inactive. tome registers traits that you have inactive a part of traits that you can get in the tome, but with the hero augment, it's only the traits that you have active. Okay, and that goes over everything.